I had to raise my chair.
Oh, okay.
Because then when I sit down, I'm like super low.
Yeah.
Ben, you're up, right?
Yep.
Okay.
American flag. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag. Honor
The Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas,
One state, under God,
one
and indivisible.
Let us pray. God, we thank you for the day you've given us, and we ask for your blessings as we move forward with each and every day ahead. God, we ask you bless the people of our county, and we ask for your help to keep everyone healthy and safe. We pray for your guidance in the matters at hand and the wisdom to make wise decisions for the county. We pray you look after our people in law enforcement, our military, and our emergency personnel, and keep them out of harm's way. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
No, I wouldn't. Well,
Hey. Anybody have any questions or comments or discussion on the bills? Anybody?
Make a motion, we pay the bills.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Kathy, do you have anything on payroll?
Just the payroll that I sent y'all for the July payroll.
Okay,
Wait a minute.
okay. Do I hear a motion to accept the payroll?
I'll make a motion to accept the payroll.
A second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Does that help?
Definitely.
Item 5, any additions or corrections to our previous commissioners court meeting?
No corrections for the July 25th meeting and August 1st meeting.
Okay, thank you. Item 6, any public comments? No. Item 7. Consider, discuss, approve any and all items necessary or pertaining to the county jail.
I just have a count today, nothing to approve. There's 53 inmates over here, 43 males, 10 females. And we also have 6 females still at Carson County.
Okay, thank you.
Did get the lights in the jail, and they're out at the county barn stored.
Okay, yeah.
When was you wanting to do that?
As soon as they can get started,
Is you ready to start?
I'll figure out a way to start moving people around and
But you're ready anytime?
really taking up a amount of room.
No, they're not in the way, so they're out of the way.
Who's going to do that?
B&G Electric.
Okay.
They've already got bids on those.
So you'll get hold of them and coordinate a time?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Item 8, consider, discuss, approve any and all items necessary or pertaining to the county courthouse.
I don't really have much this week, except all the heat, the electric bill, the courthouse, $6,130. That's about double
Yikes.
the normal. So
I think everyone can say their home electric
Yeah.
bill's the same, maybe not 6,000, but
I expected it up, but that's pretty high.
yeah, that is.
I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. Item 9 is to consider and or approve the resignation of Scott Jordan, Constable Precinct 2. So Scott presented his resignation to the court effective August 31st. I think I sent y'all a copy of it.
I'll make a motion to approve his resignation of Scott Jordan.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Copy of that. Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Might have to get a copy of that. I can't remember if I made it. Item 10 is to consider and or approve the sale of JP signs to Yadi Rodriguez Billick. So Yadi sent me an email and requested, there are 2 signs in her office that say Judge Yadi Rodriguez, JP number 2. And I inquired with Leisha about, selling property, and she put it out on her listserv and basically just got a response that the property's of little to no value to the county and that we could probably just sell them to her at a minimal price. Your thoughts? Is that kind of
Yeah,
where we,
it's an immaterial value to the county and the county has no use for the 2 signs. So it's something we could reuse.
So we can't just give them to her.
I think, yes, we could.
I'd like to get Craig's opinion on that, because was there legal backing for that? Because even if it doesn't have value, I don't know how we can do that without going to bid.
That's normally what we've done in the past, and that's what
Right.
we were talking about.
I wish I thought he was gonna be here.
Which technically, probably no one would have bid on the property anyway, but I
To do that
think,
with that laptop for
right, for Mike,
Mike.
yes. It probably had a little bit more value and,
We're talking about something that has no value to anybody but her.
yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter when you're dealing with county property.
Right, but these can't, the only difference is these really can't be reused.
Right.
There's no use for them where there was with the laptop. So, but yes, we can get Craig's opinion on that before we make an actual decision. Let him research
That this
the
weekend.
legal.
I meant to do that this weekend, sorry.
That's okay.
Well,
What, did you have a comment?
no,
No. Okay, do y'all want to table that request at present? Yes, no?
there is a law, anything under $50 can be given, if it has no value towards, the benefit. I move to donate these items to, former Judge.
So do you know what the law, where it
I
says
don't
that in the
know.
law?
I didn't look at it. I just thought we'd go through the process, but
Mhm.
we had this similar when one of our all the nameplates
Right.
with the city.
Mhm.
And so the city did purchase those and they were inscribed with their names on them. And when a mayor was leaving, they wanted to know, can we give that mayor his nameplate?
Mhm.
Because no one else can use it. And so we looked and we found that there was a statute that said anything under $50 that has no value can be given or donated.
Okay.
But again, I didn't do the research on it, so I apologize. But I really feel weird to table something so little, so minor, and to prolong something.
Craig, let me ask you a question, just to throw this out there at you. It's a pop quiz. Judge Rodriguez has requested her nameplate signs that were in her office. And Leisha put a thing out on her listserv, because normally when someone requests county property like that, we go out for bid. And, as in Mike's laptop.
Right.
And so, but those have no value to anybody really. They can't be reused. So Dwight thinks there's some statute that says if the value is under $50, then it can be given.
I wish I looked it up.
Do you know?
I don't know that. I mean, from the HIP response is, it would be subject to bid, but.
So that's what I thought too originally, but then Leisha put it on her listserv, and
I
the
only got one
yeah.
response.
only response was that if it was immaterial and no value to the county. It could be, I'm sure there's it was $5,000 maybe, but
I bet we might be able to figure it out by the end of the meeting.
okay. Yeah, let's just, let's skip over that for now. And if we can find something out before the end of the meeting, we'll come back to that item. All right, item 11 is to consider and or approve allowing Aflac to offer dental and or vision insurance to the county employees during open enrollment.
Yeah, this is just, Aflac comes during our open enrollment period because they do the 125 plan for us, okay? So they just evidently have a new dental and vision plan that is a little bit different than the normal plans, but they have to have permission from the court to solicit. Now, this does not cost the county anything because the employees, if they choose to do it, they have to pay for it out of their payroll check.
So it's not one accepts it, all of them do.
No,
It's individual.
it's individual, but they did tell us there has to be at least two that
Sign up for it
sign up
before they'll,
for it before they can do it. So if they get one that signs up, nobody else, then of course they'll go back to that one and say, oh, sorry, I can't do this. Now, if they get 3 or 4, whatever, then, and we really like to have at least 5 to 10 on a billing to do the billing process of it. But, so it's just a dental and a vision plan that maybe the employees might want to look at, because we do have, when they come in and sign up for our health insurance, the employees, they always say, well, what kind of dental and stuff? The only dental we have right now is with this Blue 365. And you can go on and sign up. And what it is you can get a certain little discount. It's not like an actual insurance plan. I take it from these two. It's kind of an insurance plan. You have to go to a PPO provider though to get these. So, they'd have to let you know who the PPO providers, which our insurance is a PPO provider too. So if they chose to go to a dentist in Borger, then they may get a better discount there. And if they chose to go elsewhere and they're not a PPO, they probably won't pay for this.
Okay.
So it's just not that Aflac can explain to the employees, but they have to
is Aflac planning on, like, if we approve this, to come and do like an open enrollment?
when they come in October.
Okay.
They'll be here like that second week in October
Okay,
to do the open enrollment because then everybody has to sign that 125 plan, whether you're on insurance or not. It's a
Right.
IRS regulation. So, yeah, but they will be here in October.
okay.
Okay.
And you're still doing the enrollment, open enrollment for the insurance, our
The health
insurance, health
open
insurance.
enrollment is open right now from August 1st through the 31st.
So if anyone needs to make any changes, they've got to see you.
Ma'am,
to
they need to,
You
they
were
want
in.
to change from 80/20 to the
HSA.
HSA or back the other way, or take off, take kids off, take family off. If it's not a certain circumstance, this is their month to do it.
Okay.
So if Gary, if you want to get on the insurance, you got to do it this
No chance.
month.
We'll make a motion to approve allowing Aflac to offer dental and or vision insurance to county employees for an open enrollment.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Right, item 12 is to consider and or approve the DMV optional fees. So that we do this every year. We have one optional fee, which is the $10 road and bridge fee, correct, Carrie? Yeah, and that's the only optional fee we have. And if we don't want to change any of that, we still have to send this in. There's just option A, which is no change. The county will charge the same fees.
I'll make a motion to approve the DMV optional county fee unchanged.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Item 13 is to consider and or approve the Sevens amended grant contract. I think there was only a name change on that. And Mark Snyder has reviewed the contract and it met with his approval. It's just, we do this every year.
I'll make a motion to approve the Sevens grant contract.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Item 14 is to consider and or approve the agreement with Allegiance Behavioral Health Center. This just gives, it's a contract with this Allegiance, which is located in Plainview, gives us another option to place potential patients for like mental health issues. I think we have sent some people down here there in the past, but it's been a while, but they just updated their contract with us and we're under no financial obligation to use them. But if we needed to, then we would have that option available.
I move to,
And Craig has reviewed the contract for approval.
I move to approve the agreement with Allegiance Behavioral Health Center in Plainview.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Item 15. Consider and or approve the proposal for liability auto insurance with TAC. Did y'all have a chance to review that? You have any questions?
No, we're good.
Looks good.
Looks good to me.
Okay.
Well,
And you did see where
Or 500.
it's doing 1,000.
Okay,
the 500 will not be available.
Yeah, it's not.
yeah. So
Well, there's $3,000 difference in premium between the 500, so you'd have to have 6 claims to break even on this.
Yeah.
So you might as well do without. I hope
I'm with you.
6 claims.
Yeah,
Right.
So,
I move to approve the liability and auto insurance with TAC
for $1,000.
for $1,000 deductible.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Thanks to y'all that worked on that, getting all those vehicles. Appreciate it. All right, the next item on the agenda is to adjourn into executive session at section 551071, consultation with attorney. So We have Jerry to take care of us. So we don't mess up. Okay, are we on?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Item 17 was to consider and or approve any action from our executive session, and no action at this time. Okay, item 18 is to consider and or approve any ARP grant projects. We don't have anything, do we? I didn't think so. Okay.
Is this still going through the committee or what?
We haven't had a meeting lately.
What we're running into with some people is the time you get bids, get it to ARP committee, get it approved in court. Your bid's no longer good because it's over 30 days. So you have to go back and look at the bids.
Do we have a particular project issue? Because we could make that happen.
Well, I know, but if you knew when the schedule was or knew when it's going to happen, or why couldn't we just do it in court? But
Wait.
then if you do it in court, you can do it every 2 weeks. Because these bids are only good for 30 days. It's nearly impossible to get all this done in 30 days, so.
We have talked about doing some email, just, okay, here's the information. And I think the only reason we haven't dissolved the ARP committee at this point is just to make sure when it comes to the court that we have all the information, and we're not like, oh, well, we need more information, and it just cuts down on time a little bit.
Like the north-south doors, it cost us about an extra, I think, 1,500 or so. Just because it was over 30 days, I had to go back and get the bid checked. And of course, everything's going up, so they raised the price.
I think if there's a bid issue, then we could surely get everyone together and have a quick meeting before our next commissioners court meeting.
We've got the bids coming up this afternoon. I'm meeting with some guys, the second bids for the bathrooms at the annex and the plumbing.
It might be more beneficial if we actually set an ARP meeting for like once a month. And if we don't have anything, then
We don't have to
we
meet.
don't have a meeting. But if we do, then we can go ahead and approve
I think there
those
needs-
instead of
there needs
waiting
to be a
until we
set
have
day.
5 or 6. So that people have an idea of
Right.
when they need to get.
Because if you
We
go out
could
and
do
get
that.
bids
Mhm.
and you say, okay, I'm gonna get a bid to do this project. And then no meeting for 2-3 weeks.
Right.
And then you gotta go to commissioner's court to get it approved. Then you gotta go back and redo your bid.
Okay. We can look at setting one, like,
If it's a set day, you know when to have your bids done by.
Yeah.
I didn't even think we needed a committee anymore.
Huh?
I didn't even think we needed a committee.
I don't see why we're doing a committee either.
And
I
I
really
had
don't.
suggested maybe having a smaller committee, that's just made up of 2 or 3 people that could,
could
make
just
sure that-
gather
yeah,
information,
make sure
basically.
that all
They're not making
information is there
decisions.
that needs to be.
That way it doesn't, we
It's
don't,
no different than anything else that comes before the court.
So what if you go ahead and approve it and then allow for a change, but not over a certain amount, maybe?
It needs to be, you need to do your bids and you gotta do your due diligence, but it's nearly impossible to get these bids done within the 30 days now. And I did one for the condensate lines on the courthouse and it's worthless. We gotta redo it. First of all, we didn't get 3 bids, so we only got 1 and I'm not comfortable with it. So we gotta go back and do it again anyway, so I didn't care. I still don't see why we can't do it in court.
so what do y'all think? Y'all want to just dissolve the ARP committee and just bring everything straight to the court?
The reason I brought it up that we didn't need the committee, because this committee was originally formed to make sure the projects fit the criteria for ARP.
Yes.
And since we put everything in lost revenue, everything is ARP pretty much. And so to me, that canceled out the reason why the committee even existed. Now, if we have people that need to gather more information, I mean, I'm fine with that too.
That's fine.
But I mean, it just seems like we're wasting some of our employees and officials' time because we get together and we say, well, yeah, it fits. Let's send it to the commissioner's court.
Pretty much everything applies now.
Right.
Right.
But now that it's lost revenue, it's all in.
So that's what the committee was for.
that a consensus then?
We got all day on Monday, so we can be here.
Okay, sure. You marked off the whole day?
Yeah,
I have to.
this whole day in anyway.
I've got to leave at 1:30.
I'm out here.
So the consensus was to dissolve, is it?
It's not a line item, so
We don't really can't make an actual,
But really.
Well, the
that's-
committee's
The
not a-
committee is
yeah.
a judge thing.
If you do this, who gathers all the information? If we do it through the court, who's putting this together? Who's furnishing us the information when they come to court?
I guess.
Be the person.
Submitting the
department
project.
head.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's fine.
I mean, they still have to fill out that application.
Right.
That gives,
The application, you still do the same,
Mhm.
right?
Because it has to be approved here.
Do they still submit the applications to Jerry and then Jerry just relays it to you for court or?
I mean, I wouldn't
Do
really,
the process, whatever it is.
they can just submit them to me, I guess. Cause we don't have a committee and we're not trying to meet any guidelines. It's just coming to the court.
well, that's the guidelines too, though.
Right,
After we,
yeah, the court has
I
to
mean, we can
approve
just
them.
send it to you, I guess.
Yeah.
If you're
So I
fine.
guess we'll just change that to me and I'll put them on the agenda.
I don't mean to mess things up, but it's just, we got to figure out how to get this done quicker than 30 days.
Well, you probably just need to make sure, because even though you can use it on just about anything, there's still webinars going on and there's still a few restrictions.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to premium pay and different things like that. So
Right.
before y'all approve things, you'll need to check and make sure it's correct. Or they'll come back on you.
Cause there's still some auditing.
Yes, there is.
Yeah. And there's so many annual reporting that we have to do.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that if we're giving out money, that we need to get the records that we need for that reporting.
So everybody is good with them just sending the applications to me?
That's,
And I'm not gonna pick or choose. They're all coming to the court, so you guys can decide.
sounds good to me.
We'll make sure that everybody knows that. Okay, item 19, consider and or approve the burn ban or rescind the burn ban.
So these are the counties that are currently in burn ban, some that have lifted the restrictions, but a lot of them around us are still in. There's our next week's forecast, we have some participation that, or some precipitation that possibly happen, hopefully. But currently our 493, and we will look at that 450 mark, hopefully to get it below that before we start looking at it. I recommend knowing.
It looks a little better than last time, though.
Yeah, our area is,
Mhm.
so
It's not all bright red.
it's not like, well, there in East Texas.
Yeah. Good. All right, thank you. All right, item 20 is to consider and or approve disposal of obsolete office equipment. I did not receive any. Um, 21, accept certificates of completion from elected or appointed officials.
I have Judge Irwin's certificate for her level 2 from CGIS. Craig Jones attendance from the 2022 prosecutor trial skills in prosecuting DWI. Then Dwight Kirksey and Gary Alexander certificate for their cyber awareness training. Oh, and certificate for West Texas County Judges, Commissioners. Yes.
Which we just got.
Yes.
All right, item 22, consider and or approve requests for the use of the club rooms at the Border Library or Frips.
I don't have anything, mine canceled.
No? Okay. Item 23, consider and or approve line item changes, transfers and or budget amendments.
And I only have line item transfers this time, just different departments moving money from one line item to another. One that I'm doing is an interdepartment line item transfer, and I'm moving it from the law books for the annex. I don't believe that we use that line item anymore. There was $30,000. And both of the JPs are over budget on their autopsies because they've done more autopsies this year than expected. So I've split that $30,000 to cover their autopsies, $20,000 for JP 1 and $10,000 for JP 2. Just move one line item over to this.
Okay,
The motion, we approve those line item changes as presented.
okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Item 24, consider and or approve advertising, opening, accepting, or awarding bids.
And I don't have any of those.
Okay. Were we going out for bid for the audit?
Yes, and I'm
Working on that?
Yes.
Okay, I mean, we're in no hurry for
right,
that.
I'm working on getting that request for proposal done.
Okay. Thank you. Item 25, consider and or approve donations to Hutchinson County. Anybody? No? Item 26, accept reports from elected or appointed officials.
I have the county clerk, JP 1, JP 2, airport, library. Dwayne Chisholm submitted 2 reports and they go through August the 8th. Then I have the Hutchinson County Child Welfare Board submitted their financial. And I have Kathy Sargent, July 22 financial. And the tax pool rate on August the 3rd was 2.07%.
Okay, thank you. All right, item 27, discussion of county judges and commissioners precinct daily operations. Anybody?
Just about got the sewer line done for the annex. We have one more line to add to the main line. They've got all the rest of them done. Glad to get that done. And then the airport, they're striping. And then they'll come back in another month and re-stripe them. So for the runway that they just fixed.
I don't have anything new this time.
Where Rick and Bob working on the cabinets, they came and kind of got a general, and then they were going to come back and look for the library and tag office and fridge. And I'm really hoping they get it done before October 1 or the
Right.
end of September. If not, I don't know. We'll have to nix the project. So it's been over a month when we started. So if it's not done this fiscal year, then we will nix the project.
Okay,
Yeah, they're working on the annex cabinets too. They've already almost have them done.
Cool.
in the adult probation?
Yeah.
They're putting those,
Yeah.
okay.
And then we've discussed the security door and the bulletproof glass too. So that's as far as that's gone.
Okay.
We're waiting on some more bids or people to help with it.
Okay.
One outfit doesn't have enough personnel.
Right,
But I think I've got some people gathered and then we got another bid coming in on that too. So
okay, anything else? I just wanted to share with y'all an email that Clay sent, Clay Rennick over at the museum. Just wanted to let us know that they have had so much fun during June and July. They enjoyed having an annual scavenger hunt in conjunction with the library. And it's always fun to watch them get excited as they come in and want to know where they're going on their hunt each week. So they exceeded their numbers from last year. And this is in regards to their children's program during the summer. They had a total of 353 kids. This year they had 669 kids. That's 300 more kids than last year. It's exciting to let you know. We have a lot of fun with the kids and we have gotten a lot of positive feedback. The last of May, well, this is not just summer, this is during the school year too, because I think some of the school kids come. The last of May, we had 2 school field trips to the museum. Spring Creek and Paul Belton came to see them. They played bingo with items in our displays and went on a dinosaur hunt in our petroleum park. I hope that they can come back this coming year and encourage the other schools to come as well. Can't wait to let you know more exciting things that are going on at the Hutchinson County Historical Museum. So as always, Clay is doing an excellent job at the museum. And we appreciate that. Anything else on that? Okay. Item 28 is to consider and or approve the sale of struck off tax properties or tax deeds. We have a few that are all in your precinct, right? Okay, the first property is located at Patton Circle in Borger. There's a bid of $10,000 by Diana Pimentel.
And the value is about 35.
Yeah, the appraisal district value is 26.5.
26. I can't remember what it was. So,
That's the
that's
property.
almost, yes.
Yeah,
And it's pretty rough. The roof needs to be replaced. And I mean, it looks like it could be flipped, but I mean, that's almost 50% of that appraisal. So
Mhm.
I make a motion, we accept that bid.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. The next property is 706 O'Daniel. And the appraisal value on that is 6,800. There's a bid of 721. There's no structure. It is a vacant lot. That is by Casimir Investments.
It's a lot of brush to clean up, but that's over in Rock Creek Edition, and that's part of the auction, the online auction stuff. So make a motion, we accept that bid as well. I'll second it.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. And the last property is Jim Hall Street. There's an appraisal value of $1,000 and a bid of $508. And this is by Land for Less.
It's the open field, like it's about 2 blocks east of the Cofield building. So make a motion, we accept that bid as well.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
The cool red fire hydrant.
Yeah.
Yeah. that's- And
About 2 of those out there that they have metal around it.
I'm holding my hand.
so someone doesn't run over you.
Catch it.
Okay.
I catch them on that, but
Oh, okay.
on this one.
We're not doing a group.
Alicia, no, I got that. Request
2 out of 5.
no, the move.
One block.
You said you were gonna take care of that? To transfer some money from one item to the next, and it was an agenda request, and you said, no, I'll talk to her about it. You remember that?
Yes. It was under her, under the 25%, so we just did not.
Okay, all right, good.
Yes.
And Jerry, also, did you want to give an update on that nuisance abatement? You,
The 9710 nuisance.
yes, that we talked about last time.
Griffin. So we had the seizure warrant signed and we got a hold of the construction company. They're supposed to start working on that, start moving some equipment out there today. Then through the next couple of weeks, I have another job that they're doing. Through the next couple of weeks, they're gonna start putting more people to it. So they said that it should be completed within, they're looking at a 45-day time frame to get everything moved off and all the big stuff.
So this is a project that needs to be completed before October 1 also.
I want to get everything done on that side.
Yeah.
So. Fix and matching.
Right. Okay,
The project had to be completed by the end of September.
okay. We also know. Okay, the next item on the budget is, or on the agenda is to work on our budget.
Do you want to go back?
Oh, yeah, we do. Yes, thank you for reminding me. I forgot about that. And I made a little mark to remind myself. I still did.
Saw it.
So we're going to go back to item 10, which was to consider and or approve the sale of JP signs to Yadi or to Judge Rodriguez.
I'll make a motion that we dispose of those items.
Okay.
They have no value.
Obsolete office equipment.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Thanks for reminding me because it lays over here and then I forget to have them sign it. Okay. Oh, one other thing I wanted to tell y'all, going back up to our precinct daily operations, Clay brought his book in that we authorized him to do and gave me a copy of it. And I haven't had a chance to look through all of it, but there's some very interesting pictures and history of Hutchinson County. And I'm proud to say I have an autographed copy. So they are for sale, I believe, in the museum. I think it's.
He's ordered them. I don't know that he.
Oh, he hasn't got them yet, but anyway, it's awesome recognition for Hutchinson County. And he was very excited about it. I'm excited to have the book.
How much are the books, you know?
I do not know. Mine, he gave me mine.
I don't think.
Oh, it says $23.99 on the back. So. Okay, we are moving on to our budget. Where did we start? Everyone had a chance to look over all the information that you were sent. Correct? And we have recommended, I believe we heard most of that information and we have the actual proposed budget. Leisha, was there anything else
There's still.
besides salaries?
Yeah, salaries for one, but there are a few items hanging out that still need to be decided upon or that we're waiting on agreements with or amendments to contracts. One thing that is changing in the non-departmental is that tiers funding. I've been working with the city of Borger and the Hutchinson County Appraisal District and Cary to get what that actually is, and that will be increased to 14,900.
Didn't we have 17 in there before?
That is 14.
Well, we had 17.
And then we dropped
We
it.
dropped it down to 9,700 because we couldn't agree on the base values. We did get hardcore base values so that everybody is on the same page with how this is calculated. And the amount due is actually about 25. The amount due is 25,000, but using these base values, we've overpaid a couple of years, so we're just taking that overpayment from this year's payment. And so it'll be about 14,900.
Okay.
Is it 14,900?
14,900. And then also on the 409, there several different ones we're waiting on agreements with. But I think I would also like to move those over into the county welfare department, just so all of those are all together.
And you're talking like senior citizens, the food bank, Hutch Cares,
The
those,
water.
right.
And then there will also be a new line item, after looking at the courthouse maintenance, the lease for the postage machine has been being coded to the courthouse maintenance and equipment line item for some reason. So I am moving that out of that line item and moving it over into the non-departmental.
Okay.
So it'll be a line item on its own, this postage meter lease. I'll get those updated and get you the copies.
Okay,
You raised the water maintenance up. We just talked about the other day. I think.
No, I still have it at 8,000. Does it need to be?
That's one we short on because of the contract on the boiler, I think.
There were some other one, just kind of one-time things in there. And if we need to. It's up to you.
what's the number on that one?
It's 516-3340.
Okay.
Five. Yeah, these together. The monthly contracts for the elevator and the boiler are. Will be about $5,400, well, about $5,500. For those maintenance contracts, and then there's, different repairs that are made to the elevator or the. Boiler in there as well. I think they had to have it calibrated and
Yeah, it's calibration. There's the water treatment on the boiler.
installed some sensors.
Right.
So those are some of the bigger expenses that were included that threw it over
Okay.
budget.
All right.
5,500, okay. 5,500 is okay.
What's it, 8,000?
We've got it at 8.
8. Oh, okay.
Anything else that we need to? Yeah. Remember. What about the fire contracts?
We're
Yeah.
waiting on amendment. The amounts that I put into the budget is the contract amounts, because there are no amendments to that contract.
Like the current, this year's contract?
What we're paying right now?
Know what the current contract says, which
Right.
I know one.
Right,
Based on that.
is 41, actually. Right,
That is what we paid last year.
right.
But I guess the contract didn't say 41.
No, because it didn't ever get updated. So when do we think we're gonna have those?
I talked to them all, and they said they were gonna draft something up and get it to me, so I'll follow up with them this week.
Yeah, we probably
Get it to me or not.
need that sooner than later. Thank you,
If
Jerry.
They don't get it to me, they don't get it ready.
If the net doesn't get it to you, they get a decrease.
Yikes.
But even with that contract, we can go in and make it the current what we paid last year, can't we? Or
Not according to the contract. The contract says that any changes has to be done by an amendment approved by the city council and the commissioner's court.
so on that contract, if they ask us for more and then we go with less, we have to negotiate the contract. Right?
I'm sorry.
So if they ask us for 46 and we only do the 41 that we agreed last
So
year.
the contract amount is 33,000. That's what the contract says.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they come back with a new contract and they're asking for 43,000, we say, well, we're only giving you 41, we have to like negotiate that whole contract the whole time, right? So I mean, we've got to get it in. Like, we have to say, no, we have to update it to 41 if you agree. So I mean, that's gonna take like a month. We can't just say, once they send us the contract for 43, or no, we're only doing 41, and then that's what we decide on. We have to have it in the contract, agreed on both people. Yeah, okay. Okay.
I'm looking through to make sure that the. I think really that was it, other than the ones we're just waiting on agreements of some sort or changes to that contract.
Okay. Did y'all have any questions on any of the proposed budgets? No?
Pretty good right now.
We're good.
Good.
On the district attorneys, it shows his employees' insurance quite a bit more. Was there a reason for that? I mean, I might have talked about it. It's 437,2020.
437.
Yeah, like 18,000. If I'm reading that correctly.
So what I did on the insurance, just to kind of get a number in there, I
Mhm.
left it as whoever's got their insurance now with the increases in the premium.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So
So
it's just based, I mean, everybody's, we've had several people on.
how big's his office? I'm just curious.
1, 2,
4, 5.
3.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. I just thought there were 3. I apologize. That was my fault.
Open enrollment possibly will change that
Yeah.
number, but
Well, there's more than 3, so that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And that could have been a phone call I could have made. I apologize
Good.
for wasting y'all's time.
Okay. Anything else, Lisa? Any other things that we particularly need to look at or? That. Okay, so y'all got the numbers as far as the tax worksheet that Terry did for us. And today we need to set a proposed tax rate. Did y'all look at that information? Well, we've got our current rate is 59.5. We've maintained that tax rate, I think, for the last 3 years. And the no new revenue tax rate is 0.52. The voter approval tax rate is 0.59. 0.1584. And the de minimis rate is 0.54. So did y'all have a chance to look at that? You did get it, right? Okay, all right, great. Great.
This is the rate that we can't go above, but we set it kind of high to try to get lower once all the numbers come in.
This is merely a proposed, yes, tax rate. It's not the tax rate that we are planning to adopt, but it could be the tax rate we plan to adopt.
Cause
But once we set a proposed tax rate, we can't then go back and go over that amount. Correct, Carrie?
I would just set it at the no new revenue rate of 59.1, and then I'm eyeballing like 56
And then
on there,
work our way down.
right?
That's at the highest
Do what, Carrie?
Yep, sorry, good call.
voter.
Yeah.
return rate.
Yeah,
The
My fault.
voter approved
Yeah,
tax rate
that's what I was thinking.
is 0.591584.
we get the terms next year. I thought it was this year I'd get the terms right.
We can always.
Change them
go
next
down.
year again, probably.
Yes, we can always go down. And normally that's what we do.
Right.
That's kind of what we've done in the past. So is that a motion?
Well, it's not an agenda item, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Consider and or approve the proposed tax rate. Yes. Because then we have to have, we have to publish that.
Public hearing stuff, yeah.
That is-
Have the public
that's
hearing.
5-9. What is the voter?
Yeah, I just closed out about
591.
It's 591,584.
Yeah,
We're currently at 595.
we can start there and go down.
Yes.
So I make a motion, we set the proposed tax rate at the voter approval rate,
Tax rate.
tax rate.
And I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to set the proposed tax rate at the voter approval rate of 0.591584. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Do y'all have any other budget discussion?
Can I talk to you 1 second real fast about the retirement system? Yes. This is only for your thought, but we're gonna have to know this when we decide on salaries and whatever. So for right now, our rate that the county pays per month is the 11.55. Okay, that's the rate that we take out of everybody's. If we pay retirement on you, we do it at 11.55. Well, the rate starting in January is gone down to, the required rate is 9.78. So you have to do the 9.78 or above. Well, we're doing the 11.55 because that's what was required this year that we're in now. Okay, so, but now our elected rate is 11.35. We elected that rate several years ago. When we got up to that point, we needed it, and then we just kept doing 11.35 because you're paying them more money by doing that. So y'all just need to think when you decide on your salaries or whatever, whether we're going to go back to the required, the 978, or you're going to do, if you do the elected rate, it's going to kick it back down to the 11.35, or you can stay at the 11.55. Okay, now, right now, we are 95.7% funded. So if you wanted to stay there and continue being funded better, then you would need to probably do the 11.55. But that would require a form that y'all will have to sign. Usually, if you stay with whatever rate, the electric rate you want, then I don't have to tell them anything because that's what they do. But now it does require y'all signing a form if you want.
If we make a change.
If you make a change. So I just want you to be aware of that. So, on all those salary things, I figured I did it at the 11.55.
And just because I'm new to this process, when will the salaries be decided upon so that we can get a bottom line?
But you can't get a bottom line on your budget until you get the salaries put in the budget.
Right. I mean, we could do that anytime.
Let's do it now. I think we've looked at it for 2 weeks, haven't we?
Pretty much.
So we kind of know what we want to do.
So what are your thoughts? Throw it out there.
My thought is $200 a month, doing the dollar amount again this year. At 125 employees at $200 a month increase. That's what I feel comfortable. With the increase of the insurance and everything else, it's just a big chunk this year. And I know there's debate of whether we should do percentage or do dollar amount. I've shared with, I saw something from the commissioners in Florida, and I know that's probably a bad thing to say, but they have a rule where they do dollar amount, percentage, dollar amount, percentage. It keeps the gap, keeps the flow from happening, but it's just a rule. It's not a law or anything. It's just an idea, basically. So that's Dwight's talk, and I'm done.
What does 200 come out on percentage?
Did you get this?
What varies on how much they make.
Yeah, it depends on.
It depends on how much they.
Yeah.
$200
As far as expenses, it'd probably be, I mean, it's 357.
Yeah.
It's in between, yeah, it's between 4% and 5% total.
Yeah.
And I always lean towards a dollar amount because the people that are making lower get more of a percentage. And the people that are on the higher end get less of a percentage, but they still get a raise. Give them a flat raise, then
I think it's better than the percentage.
I can make a copy of this if y'all want. Y'all need this again?
I've got it.
Okay. Been looking at kind of what our I don't know what all y'all are thinking as far as tax rate. As far as tax rate, I was able to plug in that number into what my brain's thinking we'll probably land on somewhere around there and see kind of how that impacts our budget, our overall.
Bottom line.
Yeah. Because my brain's thinking between 55 and 56 on the tax rate. So it won't put us in the hole.
And my approximate numbers show a 200 a month raise. The bottom line will be about 476,000 with a 55 tax rate. 55% tax rate,
Or what?
476,000. These are just my rough numbers based on that worksheet that Kathy gave us.
To the good.
To the good.
Yeah.
That would be putting 476,000 in fund balance.
Okay. We still have a couple of things. The sheriff had asked for that 50-cent raise for Raquel. And then we have the proposal from Jerry, and then the information that Monica that I pushed out to y'all. Monica. So we need to either decide that the elected officials, which I'm Jerry's supervisor, so I, on his request, I'm totally in favor of it. I know the work he does. So we need to make some decisions on those things. And then we need to hear from the sheriff in regards to Monica's request. And then she's provided information to y'all, so if y'all had any questions. So we need to make some decisions on that at some point. Because that will affect all of this also.
Well, I just want to,
The nuisance, are you still wanting the nuisance?
and what I would like to say is, I know, so department heads submit to their supervisor. And if they want a raise or would like something more, their department head or their supervisor needs to put that in their proposed budget.
Right.
Bringing it to the court individually is circumventing the way it works.
That's why I
So
said the sheriff needs to come with
Right.
that information.
And so it's hard for us to say yes or no, because we're individually talking about a person. Because once we start that process, we're going to talk about every individual person from everybody. So even if you said we need to make a decision, no, the sheriff needs to make a decision. What's his budget going to look like regarding that with Monica? Now, I believe Monica does a great job, not debating whether she's worth it or not worth it, not doing that. But that needs to be part of the sheriff's proposed budget. Here's what I would like to propose for my salary in regards to both of his requests.
Okay.
And that should have been presented in the budget proposal of his departments. That would mean him having to talk to Kathy and figuring out how's this going to impact my budget, stuff like that. When in regards to you and Jerry, that would be a decision you think in your mind, you say, well, I think for EOM, Jerry is worth this amount. But as far as fire marshal and nuisance, the court decides how much he's worth in that. But I don't have any, other than being a voting member of the court, I don't have anything in that. So we as a court, we only need to decide what is nuisance and fire department or
Right.
fire marshal. As far as his salary, that's also part of your budget proposal in that aspect. So when it comes down to us making a decision, should Monica get her request? Should Jerry get his request? Should the 50-cent raise happen with that? Once we start this process, it's going to skew everything. And so it's a very weird place to be in. And so that's, again, Dwight's opinion, but it seems very odd to be in this situation. Now, regarding Eddie and Dwayne or Clay or Nancy, they answer directly to us specifically. Eddie actually answers directly to Ben, not really us. And so they're a little different than all the other departments. And so I do think that it's just been, I think it's confusing, and I don't think anybody's doing anything out of malcontent or trying to stir the pot. I think it's just, we're in a place where nobody really knows how to do it. It's really hard to make a decision.
As part of their department requested budget, the commissioners court has to approve the budget. And so if
Yeah.
they feel like, well, that's too much, then
Yeah.
We still have the final
So
approval.
it will be our decision to say, break down all your employees on us, how much they all make. And we have that prerogative to do that if we want. And it's something I would do personally if we were set up the way we should be. But we're not set up really because there's not a system of, from what I understand, if Dwayne hires somebody, he brings them in at what the guy before him made. There's not a lower.
Right, and we've talked about
Yes,
that.
we talked about that. So there's really not a system
Right.
set up that should be. Like if Carrie her department and Jan, they have quite a few people in those departments. The sheriff does too. Kathy told me there's a system like, or.
There is.
system.
There's a 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, and so 1, 2, and 3, everybody gets started, they start at this level.
Yeah, I think I sent you all those figures.
But other departments don't have that.
Bless you.
Other departments don't have that system set up. It's just, and so it's kind of hard to make those calls when there's not an evaluation happening. I know Ben and I have talked about it, it's really hard on morale when everybody makes the exact same amount of money. If you have someone who's a poor performer making the same as someone who's a high performer, that high performer says, what's the point? And that poor performer says, what's the point of working?
It creates a lot of problems.
Yeah, so we just don't have we don't have a good, in my opinion, a very good, not, and let me preface this. I don't believe all departments have a good evaluation system of where the pay scale should be. I don't think many departments have a tier system. And they need a tier system.
Right. But I don't think that's something we're gonna figure out this budget.
Yeah, but we're being asked to. Right now, we're being asked to. When people come to us and say, I want to raise, I want to go through this, we have to mentally, as
Right.
commissioners, start saying, what's a tier system? Because the department heads aren't creating it.
Mhm.
And so as Leisha said, we've got to approve it. So that means we've got to think of a tier system to say, yeah, let's go ahead and give Monica this, but then realize that so what's the next person going to come in and ask? So we have to have some kind of system. I mean, it's really hard to say. These talks, I believe, should have happened in April, May. And those should have been, that's how normal progress should have happened in this aspect, but we're not there. And it's hard so.
Speak.
Sure.
I agree to a sniffing system, but you can go back and look at every person that I've hired since I've been able to hire people. And I never start anybody out at full pay unless they are somebody that has been a jailer, they have their license and they've got the experience. I just hired or am in the process of hiring a new person that will start $7,000 below full pay until he proves himself, goes through his probationary period, gets his jailer's license. The one that was hired for him, same way. So that right there, just those two people, that's $14,000 less a year that we saved.
Is it a year though, or how quick do they go through the
Yeah, they are.
probationary period?
They get
I mean, they go up quick.
We don't request that full pay until they've got their jailer's license.
Well, that's what they're saying.
That's what I'm
How long does it take them to get that jailer's license?
Usually pretty close to a year.
But then they just jump right up to the last person or the last
Then they
race.
go up to full
Yeah.
pay.
See, that's not a good. Yeah.
That I don't think it's practice to start somebody that comes in with no experience whatsoever to make the same amount as the person that's been there for 15 years.
Yeah. But in a year they will.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what,
Are you the only captain in the jail?
Yes, sir.
So when somebody else fills in for you, that doesn't make them a captain, right?
No, sir.
So I guess the thing that we're all debating on, so what do we do?
Right.
We could all talk about what's broke with the system like I just did. We could talk about that, but that we need to make a decision. And granted, we could say we should have did this earlier. We should have had this. We could do the shoulda, coulda, wouldas forever. It's late in the game, so we either make no decision or we make a decision because we have to. But I would like to encourage every department head, including appointed and elected, please look at your hierarchy system within your departments and figure out how is this working? Is the good performer being blessed and the poor performer not receiving anything? I mean, just because we as a court say $200 a month increase, doesn't mean you as a department head have to give everybody in your department $200. You can't go over $200, But you can say, hey, you know what? Dwight's not really carrying his weight. So I'm gonna just give him $100 a month. You have that prerogative. You have that authority. You can't go over the 200, but you can do that. It's called job performance and evaluations. Everybody does it, and I'm a huge fan of it. And I step off the soapbox.
Except nobody does it here.
Yeah, nobody does it here, but I'm a fan of
You
it.
need to make sure that you have documented.
You have to
That's what I was gonna say.
documentation,
Yeah, you
yearly evaluations. Yeah.
you got to back it up.
Yeah, there has, I mean, it's doable.
Or
Yeah.
something like that.
And I'm highly a fan of that. And if you need help with it, I would be honored to help you with it.
You better back up everything you do.
Yeah,
Yeah, because first time you give this one 100, this one 150, this one 200, these two are, you're gonna be.
It's going to create some problems as well.
and I would love to help y'all with how to do that. I would love to help y'all how to, any department head that's listening, you want help with that, I will show you. Or you can take the attitude, it's broke, let's not fix it. As we see, so.
I don't know about this.
I think
Yeah, sure.
it's just on my mind. You guys do have control over that. You have control over whether or not we get raises or if people get raises or y'all get raises. We have all that control. And it doesn't matter how hard Jerry works. It doesn't matter how hard she works. It doesn't matter how hard my girls work. We all work as hard as we can. And because she's a jailer, my girls are deputies, we don't know what each other does and what we go through to perform our duties in our office. And I feel like as everybody is here is working for Hutchinson County, that we should all be treated fairly. And if you think that Jerry works harder than my girls, you need to come spend a couple of days with my girls. It's nonstop. Her girls, Jan's girls, I mean, it's constant. It's all day long. We don't get to sit for the phones and do what we do. But I mean, as far as going home and taking homework with us, we think about what we've done during the day because it's just something we do. We have a lot of liability in what we do. And we try to take care of Hutchinson County the best that we can. I mean, that's who we work for, is Hutchinson County, and we do the best that we can and we perform. But like I said, if you can't really individually say this office, this office, this office, unless you come and spend a day or two in our offices. And then you may go, wow, just because she's a jailer doesn't mean that this deputy over here doesn't work as hard as her. If that's what you base it on. I don't know.
So
I just wanted to say.
So what you just said is exactly why the department heads need to take the control and know what their girls and their guys do and present it to us and say, this is why we want this raised. This is why this is in this budget. Because when it comes to individuals coming to ask us things, then we get into that fight of people saying, well, my people work harder, my people do
Well,
this.
that's.
And so in the department,
But Chris, do you want me to come and say, I want each one of my girls to get a $12,000 raise a
Yeah.
year because we work hard
if you want it,
and we work 8 to 6.
But I don't
I
think
don't-
we ever
We're all
knew to
set
do
up like
that.
that.
well, I'm not saying that, I'm saying going forward, I'm saying that's what he's saying.
Okay.
Like when you expect us to understand what everybody does, that's why the department heads need to say, this is what we are worth. And that's why we're having that conversation about Eddie and Jerry.
But
And now we're having
always
this.
done. I mean, Carrie's office, her girls get paid what my girls get paid.
That's right. That's right.
Jan's office gets paid what my girls get paid. That's the system of Hutchinson County. We've had the deputy clerk, we've had a chief deputy, we've had all this. And then all of a sudden you say, this girl she just should be the chief deputy. Well, you gotta wait till budget a year. Doesn't matter how hard she's worked, you gotta wait till budget and ask for it. But that's just the system of what we've always gone with. And
So I'm encouraging to
Well, and-
do something new. I'm
Well, that's
encouraging.
why I
That-
presented
the
the way
current-
that I did. I didn't really know how to go about I've never asked for anything.
I just
Here-
pulled up
right.
the statute and I haven't read it, just now glancing. And it says that amount of compensation, expenses and allowances generally applicable amount set by commissioner's court. The commissioner's court of a county shall set the amount of compensation, office and travel expenses and all other allowances for county and precinct officers and employees who are paid wholly from county funds. So the commissioner's court is in control of everybody's salary.
Here's my,
Yeah,
here's my opinion.
I get that.
Oh,
Yeah, but every budget I've done, the idea has been wait and let the commissioners set the salary. And I'm not saying that I would request anything, and you're right, the commissioners make the final decision. But y'all are saying something that we haven't ever done.
Yeah.
It's always been wait, let y'all set the salary and we take whatever we get. If y'all want elected officials to come and say, we deserve this much for every person, well, I think we'll do it.
and you're gonna get
I don't think they'll ever work though.
out of control.
So here's, I'm not saying this,
Because
the current system of just giving raises every year is unsustainable when you don't drop back down to, like when a jailer
that is
can make,
completely-
after a year, when a jailer can make the same as somebody making 15 years, that is unsustainable in 10 years. And God willing, I hope that I'm still commissioner in 10 years and kicking this can down the road of just saying, let's just give a raise every year and never drop the bottom dollar is going to be, we're going to be taxing the crap out of our residents. And that's what we're saying. We've got to talk now about how do we fix it? When a county elected official can come in and make the same rate elected wage as somebody that worked for this county for 25 years and then make that exact same salary, that is unsustainable.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying that it's
But
just going to be fair game. My opinion is we have to come to a solution. So I don't agree with everything like right out of the gate, but we do need to start letting the department heads say, we do have more we understand what our girls and our guys do. We need to start thinking about maybe a tier system, maybe in the jail, because there are jailers. I reached out to Ochiltree County, the other counties, and they have different tier systems. Maybe we say we all get that it's unsustainable. So how do we fix it as a county? Because
we have
that
to
is
be
the
done
big,
before our next
That would be the
election.
salary that is approved by commissioners.
Right.
Where it says that, a newly elected tax assessor collector starts at this amount instead of what Carrie ended at.
Right.
And then, the jail, like with the deputies, we do have deputy 1, deputy 2, and deputy 3 who are currently at a system. And so it just needs to be that way for every department. So a
Right.
jailer, if they've got 0 to 5 years of experience, they get paid this amount, or they're, a jailer
starting
1,
pay.
jailer 2, jailer 3.
Right.
Where there's a different step system,
right.
and that is all approved by commissioner's court.
And I want to say one thing too. While I'm on my soapbox too, I've heard this several times and I am the one who asks a lot of questions because I want to know, because I don't understand what some people do. People have told me that they feel like they're coming before a firing squad when they come in here because they have to ask for things. That's because we don't understand what you guys do. So we ask questions. Have you tried this? Why have we not tried that? And so we want to talk about Hutchinson County being a family. That department head giving them that power that opens the lines of communication where we can say, look, we want to fix this. How do we fix it? Instead of we wait and hear, and it turns into what some people perceive as an argument. And they don't even understand what we do. They told us, no, we can't stand the commissioner's court every time so it's more, from my opinion, I want to see it more as an open dialogue as we go. Like when I ask questions about salaries and do the research and stuff, it's not trying to cut you at the knees or say no, it's to try to understand, because in 10 years, some people don't care about it because they won't be here in 10 years, but I do hope that I am here in 10 years and that we all are residents here not paying 85-cent tax rate because we keep raising it. And so that's my soapbox. When we're in here, we do have that control, but we lean so heavily on you guys that the questions that I ask are because I want to lean on you more, not because I'm trying to cut you at the knees or say, well, we know better. Because the girls there work all day long. Y'all do work I have no desire to do. I mean, every department, and I try to understand it, but at the end of the day, that's where I need the department heads and you guys to sell it. Not do I want to say no, but we just need to have that dialogue. And so I will say it's broken. I don't know if we can fix it now, but we need over the next year or two, we need to say And that's where you guys, like, if it is a tiered system in the jail, you understand the jail way more than I do. And, you know, that's where we can work together to say it is broken. We do deserve this, and this is how we get there together. And so I just want to say that generally, that anytime that you ever feel like I see things, it's because I want to understand what you guys are at, because I have no clue half the time what you guys do.
As
I will never be there.
We can't know everything, but I like the idea of the tier system.
Right.
Been there so many years, you deserve this amount.
Why,
And the department heads have to do that.
Lots of counties do that tier system. I think I sent some to you, Cindy and Alicia. There's lots of counties.
Yeah.
That do the tier system.
well, I kind of, as a counselor, I kind of read what is the feeling behind. And so if we were to award an employee and say they requested this, so let's go ahead and give it to them. What you were saying is my girls will say, what about me? That's what you just said, Robin, wasn't it? So if we award Jerry, yeah. that's what I gathered from what you were sharing with us. Because they feel like at some level it's unfair. There's a little bit of unfairness, not to say anything negative to Jerry, just that if he asks for this and gets it, then I deserve it as well, because I'm here also, and I work as much as from perception as much as he does or she does. And so I get what you're saying, but again, it falls back to a broken system because you're asking us to solve that fairness rule that we don't even have a clue. And so judges for Jerry having what he's requested, and that proposes to Robin, well, what about my people? And Carrie, what about my people? I think they should have more. And so that's
I
why.
think the next election, we won't be here. If that happens.
Well, that's not
It'll
all
be
of it.
tough on the taxpayers.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
yeah, I see
So
what
that's
you're
why we
saying.
have to, as commissioners, we have to walk a fine line between making sure our employees are happy here and making sure our residents aren't paying
Yes.
ungodly amounts of tax rate just because we want to throw everything. And so that's why it is, and I'm going to say it is going to be hard to fix this, because when you come into a system where everybody just like, yeah, let's just throw it on, let's throw it in there, let's throw it in there. And then you start saying, well, I don't know about it. There is going to be some pushback. And so as we try to fix this, you know, we're at a bridge where people in general are, they always, we have all these rights, like we want all this stuff, we deserve it. But at the end of the day, if I'm making more in a office that somebody else isn't working hard and not making as much, I'm not going to tell them how much I make. So I'm not going to tell them I'm making more than you unless they really tick me off, I guess. But that comes back into, well, you are making less because of this. And that's where the documentation where they're saying, because you didn't do this, but next year, maybe you can do that. And so, I mean, as we go through this, it's going to be a hard system because, and I don't, do you mind if I use you as an example in this? This is why I didn't like the whole thing of not the department head, but you do work hard and this is nothing with you. The problem is, and the difference is that basic jailer is making so much that, because I called those other three counties and they make around 56, 57, what is right. And the other three counties that you gave, they make 39, 42, and like 43. So that difference, there's two solutions to solving a difference. You raise the higher or you lower the lower. And so that broken system is why we got to right there to where we say, well, how do we fix it?
And I completely understand that.
I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying that's where.
With that being said, all I can do is sell myself.
Right. And that's what I'm saying.
That's what I do.
As we go through that, we have to say, how do we solve that stuff to where next year, maybe we have that tiered system or we say.
And you know, too, Chris, maybe when you start getting these elected officials in here, you know, our elected officials, I hate to say this, they get no training as far as how the county operates. You know, they come into office and they're just in, you know, and then they start coming around going, well, you know, give me an idea of what my people make or why do they make this? So maybe, I don't know who's going to do this, maybe Alicia wants to do this, but somebody.
Orientation.
Yeah, I think yeah, to figure out how you go about the process.
But they do have a newly elected officials school. They touch on that really briefly.
Do you talk about those
Oh,
salaries?
we talk about budgeting,
Mm.
Okay,
but it's brief. I mean, it's only a 1-day class, I think.
I do have a purchasing presentation for all new people.
okay, good, good. Yeah, I'm just, or when you are, let's say they're short their budget for something, who do they go to how do they present to y'all?
That's why I use,
I never went to a new treasure school.
you
Oh,
know,
I don't know.
those message boards.
They
I
might
mean,
not
they-
have had it.
They probably didn't.
That's where I lean on a lot with the commissioners,
Right.
our message boards, because there's people doing it for 30 years that say,
Yeah.
you know, you get 254 different opinions on how to do it. And we might try something that we say, man, that sucked terribly. Well, let's change it again. But I mean, I just know the system, I've said this for 2 years, the current system that we're going is just unsustainable when we get to the top.
It truly is.
And so
You're right.
I need you guys to tell me and us, I can only speak for myself, but how do we fix it in your department? We need to take the hats off of like what I want.
How do we
and
help fix it? 'Cause
Right.
we're not gonna be able to fix it. You have to as
Right.
the department head in it. But I also want to say, it's a weird place to be right now, because whatever decision we make with Jerry, the other people will be upset. Whatever decision we make with Monica, other people will be upset. And so I don't know what to do right now. I mean, to be honest with you, I know it's like, well, we need to make a decision. Well, we just heard that whatever we make is going to create waves within the county. Y'all heard that as commissioners tonight, right now.
It's gonna open a revolving door.
Yeah, because you can't say, well, we did that last year, but we're working on it this year. The people will be like, well, I wasn't thrown in last year then, because, and I know that our hearts are really right, but if we can get our piece of the pie, we want it. Every human is that way. Every human's that way.
But isn't that where either myself or the sheriff would come to you and lay it out to you and explain to you why this is being requested?
Well, the sheriff would look at his budget and we really wouldn't know what kind of valuation you got, because we don't do that. So you and the sheriff would have a conversation and say, man, I feel like I need more because of what I do. And so when he presents his budget, after talking to Kathy, he says, my budget's increased because I want to promote Monica. We wouldn't know why. We wouldn't, that's not our, we're not,
I would ask why though.
If you have the
I would ask why.
ending decision of what my salary is, I think that you would need to know that. I would think that you need to know.
well, if I was a department head, I'd say she scored good on her evaluation.
No, I would think that you would need to know that my phone rings at 3 o'clock in the morning and I answer. I think you need to know if I just sat down and it's an emergency at the jail and I just sat down to eat supper, that I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna come.
Well, every employee could tell us why they should get a raise, or every employee. So we're supposed to hear, we need to hear from all of,
And then you would make the decision of, you know what, you have shown me that you do the extra. Or no, you haven't shown me.
your department head should hear that story.
Well, see, and I differ from that. I think, and that's why we're not finding a solution now, but I would ask why, because I ask why these line items are being raised and stuff. For me, it's not a reason why you ask, it's that your department head have asked for it directly. I mean, we can talk about that.
If there was a system, I wouldn't ask why, because I trust that department head. If there's not a system, then yes, I would want to ask why. But if Chris was my commissioner and I was a department head and I came in and I visited with Kathy and kind of figured out what my proposed budget would be, then I would say, hey, now I wouldn't do the raises because that's what the commissioners are going to do. But I would say, I want, regardless of raises, I want to increase my annual salaries this amount. And if a commissioner said, well, why? Oh, I could reply, well, 4 of my scored high on their evaluations that I did, personal evaluations, and 2 mediocre, and leave it at that. But if he continued to say, well, I'd like to know specifics, I'll say, call me afterwards. And I'll tell you individually why. Because if you start breaking out micromanaging every employee, Ali, 125 employees, we have to know their whole story and what makes them good. I didn't run for that office. I ran for
I
the,
think we're a small enough county that it's important for you guys to know and individual employees will appreciate it. That's just my 2 cents.
Said one thing with my stuff. So now there is a fire marshal job description filed with Kathy's in her office. I thought it was pretty simple on mine, is that I presented a problem because I was losing benefits. We wrote a job description. That job description is on file at the county. So to me, it was pretty simple, as in, you want that position for that job description, then you decide as a court to decide what that position's worth.
Well, the fire
Pick that
marshal,
position for what that's worth.
the fire marshal would have come to us and we didn't see a job description
Well, I did personal license.
for
There's a
the,
job
and we signed it.
No, the court didn't sign.
I-
description.
I don't know, I haven't seen it. But I know of.
There is a job description for fire marshal. But right now it's voluntary position. So that's what I was putting out there, is like I said, I'm losing benefits, state benefits because of that. So with what I presented you a problem and a couple of different solutions, and as the court, you decide how to fix that.
Yeah.
You want the position and you want that job in the county, then how much is it worth to you?
Okay, it's kind of the same way that Eddie came and he presented his, he explained what he thought he should make, why he thought it, and a decision was made.
And I stated at that time that was probably not the proper procedure. I did state that.
What do you guys think? 'Cause I mean, we
I
have
think
to,
it's a
as
hard situation. It needs to be corrected,
we're elected to do.
but I don't think we're gonna solve it now.
Well, it's definitely gonna take some time, but we've got a lot of work to do, hopefully before our next election. And I don't mean us, I mean our next wave of elected officials that come in. We're gonna have to, if we move towards this, we're gonna have to get that in place before then. Because when someone files to run for an office and they think they're gonna make X amount of money because that's what Kathy makes or Carrie makes or Robin makes. And, they run and then we say, nope, that's not what you're making. They might have thought,
Well, that's what I've been,
So we've got to put that in place before our next wave of elected officials, for sure,
we got next year.
if that's the direction we're going to go in. Which I
Well, I've
totally
submitted-
agree.
I've submitted some of those numbers
Yes,
to you guys
yes.
on base salaries for elected officials, but that's neither here nor there. So what do we need to do for
Today?
this?
Right.
For this year's budget.
For this year's budget in regards to the salary increases that were presented?
Feel like there's only 2 options. Either one, you approve and risk every other person in the county coming and asking for a raise, or you deny until you can get a structured system in place. Either way, I mean, just from me looking, that's the 2 options, either yay or nay.
Well, I kind of think, and me, and I know I will be the hated one, but I think if we award it today, we're opening a can of worms for everybody that we're not gonna be able to, I mean, even if we try to fix it, there's gonna be unfairness happening from the rest of the employees in the county. I mean, I see the heads nodding out in the audience from the department heads, so they're the voice of their employees. And if we say we trust them, look at their heads nodding.
I can just speak about my salary. There is nobody else that has my same job title. I get that if you've got my jailers, for example, that are all on the same pay, and I just come and I say, I would like for that person to have a raise or that person to have a raise. Mine, there's nobody next to me that can say she got a raise and I didn't for the same amount of work.
You're the captain, right?
Marcel's a captain also.
Sheriff's Department or
And
sales.
he has complete different duties than I have.
Oh, well. Yeah, same salary sheet.
Working hard, I hate to say, working hard is, what is it? Perspective. Because you were to ask people,
Yeah, because I might say Dwight doesn't do anything,
yeah, he don't do nothing.
but I don't know what he does.
Yeah.
Actually.
So it's
He
always,
might think the same thing about me.
your perception is always your reality. And I'm not saying you don't work hard, because I know you do, but I also have heard other employees.
So here's my thing, Monica, and this is why you say you're gonna be the hated one, I'm probably be hated too. And I said this to Jerry too. My problem, not my problem. I outlined the problem, what I think the difference is the basic jailer makes too much. Like I asked the captains what they made too, and it's pretty in line currently with what the captains in the 3 counties that you sent me make as well. The issue is you agreed to take those duties, and every employee agreed to take these duties at the salary that was given when they signed on the dotted line to come work at Hutchinson County. And then if we start adding, well, this person feels like they work harder, so we're going to give them more. And that's what every person, like they just said, every person feels like they work hard. And so me leaning, the issue that was presented was the pay difference. And so I think the solution would be to, my opinion, I don't see a reason to raise that, but to lower the basic jailer a little bit and to work towards that solution, because the pay for Ochiltree Gray and more that I called, I mean, it's a well-paid, it's right in line with what those captains are making.
Did you ask them what their turnover rate is?
No, I didn't,
They can't keep people.
but
They've got people right now, when I called Gray County, for example, and asked them, what their difference in pay was, my jailer's pay is low enough that they can go file for state assistance, receive food stamps. Their pay is so low. I wouldn't do what they do for what they get paid. They can go to work at Walmart and make, and they constantly, their turnover rate is through the roof.
So when the other employees, if the court was an award, the other employees from Robin's office and Carrie's office, when they come and ask, do you mind talking to them on why you deserve what you got and they may not?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So if they, it's just a huge can of worms, honestly. I just foresee this being massive.
22nd, you're gonna have a line here.
Yeah, we'll have a line of employees
Yeah.
asking, well, Monica,
So just don't ask for anything.
ask your department head, your sheriff, and
I spoke to my sheriff, I showed him the difference and he gave me his blessing to present. And that's where I'm at.
I would just like to clarify one thing, though, the patrol captain and jail captain is totally different. And if you was to go on a caseload, she has more of a caseload on her than a patrol captain does.
Not only am I.
so should we drop the patrol captain salary? And so that's why we look bad, because if we're saying she has more of a caseload, they're making the exact same right now. So do we drop the patrol captain to solve that? I mean, that's what I'm saying. But he just said the caseload is different though. There is there's going to be no black and white solution on this.
And from a basic jailer to captain, you get $300 more a month for all the duties that you do. I mean, I don't know how it got to that point, but that doesn't seem right.
There's not nearly a big enough span between those two,
No,
not even close.
because
There needs to be a tier program. Almost all your law enforcement agencies, most of them want some sort of tier program. If it was a tier program, I think these situations wouldn't happen.
Correct.
yeah, so we're all saying the same thing.
how do we get there?
We started,
You don't have to, the department heads have to.
well, we started about 15, 20 years ago. The court did, asking people, when you hire people, please don't, you hire them at a lower rate, but we're saying keep them there for a long time. We're not saying a year, we're not saying
Yeah.
6 months, we're saying years.
Yeah,
And then it just went by the wayside. It did. I mean,
And that too could be part of that initial training that that an elected official needs to know that, you know, but of course, if we have something in place that spells it out, much easier than them trying to make that decision.
So the thing that with the jail captain, the issue that was printed was this separation of pay, the difference. So we pay our basic jail at 56,000. You're talking about Gray's turnover. They pay theirs about 36. I'm not telling us to drop it 20,000, but if we drop it to 50,000, they're still making, that's the 10,000 difference right there that we were presented as the other three counties. And we're still paying almost double what Gray's making. And once again, nothing personal. And I'm not, because you work your butt off and you do stuff that I wouldn't want to do. I lean towards saying, leave the salary for this one where it's at, leave Raquel's salary where it's at, because we got rid of an office position what Blake wanted to get rid of for another deputy. And now he wants to put more money into that position that he got rid of money. Leave that where it is. Tier Jerry's to where there is two different things and people can decide if they want to work for that rate going forward. And unfortunately, if not, we have to fill that position and say, this is the solution going forward. I mean, if we can find somebody for that, if they don't want to, if they say, I don't, like, if you say, I'm not willing to work for your current rate,
What choice do I have? I'm gonna work for what you say, or I'm not gonna work here.
well, that's what I'm saying. Our job is to say that, I mean, all of us do. That's why I'm saying we are seen as the bad guy and woman so many times because we have to say no to that stuff when it's not, you know, we live in, and I'm not saying that you're this way. We live in a world where everybody's, like you were saying earlier, everybody's trying to grab this stuff, you know, grab the high fruit on the tree. But we have to be the ones to say, no, don't go that high. We have to keep it. And so it is going to be kind of a communication thing to where we say, hey, we but this is where, how do we fix it? Not if, and I'm not saying you'll do this, but if somebody comes in here, and says, you pay me 70,000 or I'm not going to work here when they agreed to 65, I'm going to say, thank you for your time. There's somebody else out there that will be filing for that job and we move forward. And they're going to trash me the whole time but we are elected to have these conversations where some people want to kick the can down the road the whole time until September 30th. And they're like, oh crap, we've got to do something. I mean, we have to have these conversations now and find that solution because we've had the salary stuff for a month and people just want to be quiet and not talk about it because of what happens after we adjourn. Then everyone's like, oh, they're a bunch of a-holes. They didn't listen. They didn't say yes or anything, but there's going to come a time where we have to have these conversations and say, you do work hard, but we're also paying you 20,000 as well. And so, I mean, that's the situation that we're stuck with that we have to find a solution. And that's where I'd lean towards on the current situations of those three to get back to the focused.
Just for what I asked, I don't think the amount that I asked for was unreasonable. I get that we pay more than those other counties, but those other counties were around 12,000 higher a year. And what I asked where that would put me was closer to the middle of that. It wasn't even nowhere near the 12,000.
As a county, as a whole, we pay higher than most of the other 26 counties in the Upper Panhandle.
And we work 4 days.
And we do. So, I mean, there's not one single person that works harder than another.
They call me at 3 in the morning. If they call me when I've sat down to dinner, if they called me and I'm fresh out of the shower, I'm here. That's what I was hired for.
I mean, it's the same as us.
I don't
We
work 8
24
to
hours a
6.
day, yeah.
You work 24 hours.
I mean, we get
Well,
called.
see, and this is why
Yeah.
I do that and I can prove it. I have it documented what I work.
I'm saying that's why, and we've got to quit the interdepartment stuff too. This is why we need the department heads to do that. And not saying y'all are, but when the department heads come here, it's a lot easier to be more black and white and unemotional when it's not about somebody's salary and what they should make. And so, you know, I don't like to sit and say no right to somebody's face. I mean, I will, obviously, because I've done it. But then that emotional aspect can kind of be buffered a little bit if it's department heads speaking on behalf of the employee. The employee can choose to come and support themselves, but I mean, I go
In my
back to,
case, I don't work directly under the sheriff. He's in Border. I'm up here. He doesn't know what I do. I don't call him and let him know, hey, I had to go to the jail at 3 a.m.
but he's still,
He doesn't know that.
yeah.
I mean, I can make it a point to tell him, but
Well, we don't either, though. So, I mean, we have to, he would have better of an understanding.
I just want to go on the record. We could have adjourned into executive session to discuss personnel matters at any point, but by you talking,
you're talking about, or talking directly to.
yes, so we're okay. But I just wanted to make that clear.
Right.
I'm doing my legal stuff.
That's why I asked her if it was all right, because I didn't want to use
Yeah.
prison.
We've all recognized this is a problem. And we've got to start at some point to figure it out.
Well, I think we kind of handled Jerry's. I mean, I know I was sick and online, but didn't we take 10,000 and put it towards fire marshal duties?
That's what I did on the budget.
And so we kind of split out his salaries in that aspect. And the reason why I'm asking that is, and I know this is a question you do not have to answer, or no one has to answer. Could we work on this system for the next year? Like we pause everything. I know that's heartbreaking, those that's asked for requests, but encourage the next year for our department heads to start looking at tier systems and communication and hierarchies, and we pause all of the, I mean, we still focus on the entire raise for the county, but not the individuals aspects. We just pause it because we have identified a problem and we've stated some imbalance within the county, and we use next year to figure it out.
There still needs to be some sort of structure countywide, because if Robin's paying her little girl this and Carrie's paying her little girl this, well, then
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It takes a year for between this year and next year
you know,
budget.
like there is deputy 1, deputy 2, deputy 3, and that's what their starting salary is, and whether it's what it currently is or whether.
We already have that in place.
Right, but I mean, it should be that way for every department.
Yes, it
across
should
the
be.
Board, instead of allowing allowing the elected officials to say, well, our girls are gonna make this, and this one say our girls. are
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
make this,"
yeah.
you know.
That's what I'm saying, the
That's
infrastructure.
never gonna-
But in order for that to happen is Carrie and Robin and Sheriff, they all need to talk because, and then present us something to say, okay, here's what we think.
But for my position or Jerry's position, what is going to be different between now and next year? I mean, there's nothing going to be any different. I'm still going to be making the same difference.
That you've been doing the last couple years. The last 4 or 5 years prior to this, it would just be the same. It wasn't an issue last year. It became an issue when Eddie talked.
Yeah, it did.
It became an issue when Eddie
No,
talked.
I don't have an issue with, I personally don't have an issue with Eddie's at all, and I'm.
No, I don't, I mean the
I'm
process.
using it the way that he presented.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It became an issue when we did the process wrong in that first time. So, that's just, which I knew was going to happen. And so, nothing would change this year. You're correct. Other than everybody gets a raise, but nothing was different last year either, or the year before. So give us a year to work on it.
In my situation, would Hutchinson County recognize me as a law enforcement official? For COVID?
Is that all you're worried about, Jerry? The COVID pay?
Well, that's one thing, but it's the other, state benefits that I would
How-
receive as a law enforcement official in the county.
How do we get to that?
Is it a piece of paper we could sign?
The fire
If
marshal,
that's an issue. I mean, I'm all for getting, because you are law enforcement.
What's state statute?
What are you, EOC, EMC?
Emergency
Okay.
management is what my pay.
Is that not, you don't have to be law enforcement for that?
No.
Can you be law enforcement for that?
yeah, you can be.
Well, then just put down your law enforcement for that.
But it doesn't I thought that's the whole, because in that letter, he said that when he
Well, you
went,
had to have certain, when I sent his job description out on my listserv and because of the COVID, the House bill, whatever, 2073 or whatever. I got lots of emails back that said that doesn't fall into law enforcement. Okay, so
so
that.
if we change the wording, would that adds to it?
I don't have a clue. I don't know anything about that.
So the fire marshal position is the law enforcement official for the office, so.
And we broke that out.
The office is Hutchinson County Fire Marshal's office.
Yeah.
So you. yes,
So we broke that
fire
out.
Marshal for that position.
I
That's where the law
don't know if I
enforcement
agree with
is.
that. When we hired Jerry as emergency management coordinator at a salary, and now we've reduced his salary and give him another job duty.
Well, he's had that
Which
same job.
he voluntarily agreed to. What I do want to say is,
Well, you shouldn't just keep things the same because that's the way it's always been. I mean, like you just said, well, you've been doing it for the last 3 or 4 years, you can do it another year. Why do we have to keep moving forward the same way? Because that's the way we've always done it.
So if I stop the fire marshal position, if I decided I wasn't going to volunteer for that anymore, you would reduce my emergency management salary.
I mean, that's what
Yeah.
we've done, and that's not right, because we hired him at a
So for
certain salary.
volunteering for a position.
He was appointed as fire marshal later. It's not right.
what do you got?
I'm all for paying your COVID pay. Because he,
Well, it is.
Well, it's not a COVID pay.
Sick leave
Right.
instead of getting it free like the other law enforcement did. That's what it was. But he didn't get docked. We did not dock him for anything.
yeah, I understand
That's
that.
I lost the state benefit, and then I found that there's other state benefits that in the line of duty deaths and stuff like that. Something were to happen to me, my family would lose a lot of state benefit funding. That's why I want to make sure that that's fixed.
Why were you not fixing it by saying 10,000 is, all we did was his pay's the same. We just broke it out and said, this one's for fire marshal, this amounts for that.
But he was hired as the fire marshal at a certain salary, and now we've reduced his salary.
No, we haven't reduced.
Fire marshal is hired.
I mean,
Hired
as
as-
emergency management, my mistake, yes, as emergency management coordinator for a certain salary, and now we've reduced his salary.
No, what?
Because he was appointed later.
Stipend, he's just getting a stipend.
Well, that's what she's saying is.
It should be on
You
top of the
decide
salary that he
no longer to be
makes.
Fire marshal and you take that $10,000 stipend away, now he's at 50 or whatever his salary was instead of what it was together. Because we took his existing salary and broke it
Yeah.
apart.
It's not truly a volunteer position.
So if he,
Cut for
yeah, if he
volunteer.
decides not to be fire marshal anymore, will he still be making the same?
So we give
amount?
him his $10,000 back in the budget and leave that. And then we don't mess with fire marshal or nuisance right now. We just don't have one in the county.
We just leave it as all as his salary, the whole.
I mean, that's pretty much, I think, where we're at. Is that
So put it right back the way it was.
we leave his salary where it was. Don't cut his salary.
Yeah.
If we want him to be the fire marshal, then we need to attach some money to that.
I don't think so. Not for me anyway.
It's my issue, the same thing, just we agreed to at a certain amount. 4 years ago, I wish that he would have said, no, I need this to be fire marshal. But instead, they said, yes, we will take on this commitment of being fire marshal at the agreed amount. and it was signed on the line. I mean, so,
Yes, and I agree with
and
you.
so,
That should have happened when
Three
we
jobs
initially
became-
started.
One job. You're doing three different.
and now he's
Yeah.
doing
Do one
Zoom
job.
meetings as a IT guy.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
mean, we've got to,
Good too, I take that.
there's not a reason, and you do a great job doing the Zoom meetings, but I mean, that's another thing
Yeah, you
I mean,
need to get paid extra for that too.
that's 4 hours of office time that could be, I mean, we could have our IT guy in here doing the 4 hours of what he's paid to do, and then he could do fire marshal EM stuff for these 4 hours.
Where I said you got three jobs that became one job. And you agreed to do that. So to me, it's one job to do all three.
Legally, it's one job. That's not fair.
So we can leave the salary as is, and we just don't have a fire marshal or a nuisance officer.
So that's.
I mean, that's an
Pay
option.
raise, you're doing
Yeah.
a lot less work.
Because it still goes back to, I liked it, but now I want more. I signed up for it and I want more money.
I'm not.
And I understand. I mean, we are given raises and increase of benefits, payout. But we want more.
That 200 a month raise, that's about for some of the hires, that's about 3%, and the lowers, it's a
4.5.
5 and.
But Craig, let me ask, can you ask somebody as personnel straight up, like if you, scenario A, would you be fine with that? Can you ask them that since they're here and we're talking openly about it?
They're okay with it.
Okay. Jerry, would you be okay with me asking you a question? Okay, so if we fix the law enforcement situation, kept the pay the same and took the abatement stuff away from you and broke it down, you said voluntarily, but you agreed to it voluntarily, kept that as a stipend, would you be open to that going forward?
Keep the law enforcement.
Both titles at the current salary, but break it down and then solve the law enforcement problem.
If we solve the law enforcement problem, I would even do the nuisance of it. At the current salary.
So you want.
Don't have any problem.
Would you be okay with us breaking it down like that and keeping the salary what
And
you're,
breaking it down as a salary and a fire
Stipend.
marshal stipend.
and then make sure.
I thought we already did that.
So we
have, but
have emergency
not-
management, but then a fire marshal stipend.
Right. Would you be okay with what they were talking about, that it's not a drop in pay, it's more of a designation of duties
They like this,
that was agreed upon?
So 52 and 10.
even have a salary.
So you're not getting paid anymore. So it's the same salary.
So then it would be taking away the fire marshal, or I guess adding the fire marshal responsibility.
Which you already
That
have.
you,
Right, instead of volunteering, it would actually be paid for that position.
Yeah, you would be paid 10,000 for that position. And then the 52 for your other duties.
And then the nuisance abatement still tied into the fire marshal position. Or is
I mean,
that-
we could take
or is
that,
away?
I could do it.
we
I'll
could
do
take that
it.
away.
I'll do it.
I mean, it's up to, I mean, if
I gotta earn my
I was just
pay
trying to find
somehow.
something-
You guys all work hard. I need to earn mine.
if you want to continue doing the abatement, I mean, you and Dwight could spearhead it together. I mean, I just wanted to present something that was kind of in the middle, that was mainly agreed upon, and I see as fair. And that's not the decision of the court. I'm just asking for me. Would you be open to that?
Yes, Lord.
Jerry, let me ask you, do I have 2 job descriptions down there? I don't remember. Or do I have one?
So the fire marshal position is a job description down there, yes. My emergency management was what I was told that I was paid, that was my pay time.
Did we do a new emergency management job description or is that the same one?
It was the same one, I was just told to sign it.
Okay.
And Monica, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
If we kept your salary the same and worked on a tier system where that difference came from the bottom down, but still made that wage competitive, would you be okay with that, or are you unhappy with the pay now?
I don't see where we're going to get that. How are we gonna create?
I mean, because we're not going to cut anybody's salary that's currently working.
No,
No, it would be for.
But-
It would be for new hires.
as we go.
So as you
that would-
go, it's going to take a while for
that
that
would solve
difference.
the
Yes, I think as moving forward, we need to create a tier where maybe people aren't starting out quite so high, but I still would like to do something with the gap that is there.
Or the lack of a gap.
The lack, yes, the small gap. Like I said, I don't feel like the amount that I'm asking for is reasonable.
I'll talk too much. I want to hear you
We
guys
do
talk.
have a big turnover in this county with employees, we do. We truly do. I don't think it's gonna take you very long, because by next week, you could cut them salaries, you know.
But we do have big
Because we
turnover.
do have, that's just a given fact, and it's not us. I don't think it's anything we do wrong. I
No,
just,
in law, it's
in
in law enforcement, it's a hard
And-
profession to be in.
and really,
COVID made it very, very, very hard.
Yeah.
And I do want to say, with the jail being open 24/7. One of the things that, I'm just gonna use this for an example, people at the courthouse versus people at the jail. We never got to be away from COVID. We never got to close our offices. We never got to put a piece of plexiglass in between. We had a whole wing that 7 people that had COVID at one time. We still had to walk face to face with them and take them their food, take them their medication, and then worry about going home in our clothes and making sure that we stayed away from our family, got those clothes to the washing machine. Now, okay, you've showered, but do you still have those germs on you? Should I hug my kids? Should I go lay in the bed with my spouse? It was a very, very stressful time. I know we're not talking about that right now, but I just,
I'm
And I
sorry.
agree with you. And I
I'm
do
sorry, yeah.
appreciate
some people
the effort.
didn't realize that.
Yeah. No, you guys put yourself in harm's way all the time. I mean, with COVID, I mean, y'all
And
couldn't
I
just stop
signed
patrolling,
up
so.
For
Right.
that, but COVID made a whole new.
Right.
So do you get a car?
Do I have a car? Yes. I live 2 miles.
You're
I live 2 miles from the jails.
Oh, not do you personally have a car? Do you get a?
Yes.
a
she
fleet?
has a
Oh, okay,
Company
okay.
vehicle. Yeah.
I was like, that's an illegal question. And I just asked about, do you have a vehicle?
No,
Yes,
she has
I
a
live 2
company
miles
vehicle.
from the jail.
Is there something you physically don't have that would make your job better as a captain? Like a laptop, or do you have something?
Trying to pay me off.
Nothing gonna care. I'm personally, what I'm saying is, you can be compensated other than pay.
Be easy there.
Yeah.
We go with
Give
that.
you more vacation. We can't give you
Yeah.
more holidays. We have enough.
Yeah,
We're not ever gonna be here.
because the pay really is going to open a can of worms. I don't care how much more you sell it to us. I already know there's people watching or will be watching on YouTube waiting, when's my turn? When's it my turn to go to appeal to the commissioner's court? Based on what we say to you and what we decide right now, there are people waiting to see they're probably already got their letters written.
So do you want to use the example of somebody that was told no and then
Oh,
don't ask again? Don't ask.
So here, after I say this, I'm gonna be done talking. I want to hear some of the other commissioners talk, but, so you say your stuff is not comparable to other people in the county, and that's true. So that's why I went to more Ochiltree and Gray, what you did. Captain of Gray makes 49,000. Ochiltree Captain level 4 makes 53,000, and the Moore County makes 61,000. And you're currently at 60. And then
But what's the
503.
gap between a jailer and a captain?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
All 3 of
There.
those are about $12,000.
And so you can either solve it raising the top or lowering the bottom. And so if for me, it's been said, and has no no bearing on what is or isn't doing. She does a great job, but that was agreed upon at that amount. Maybe solve it from the bottom down and see if we can get there, because I mean, the jail, we have 4 or 5 every year
Mhm.
coming in, kind of changing out. So if we drop that to even, like I said, 50,000, I'm not trying to offer a solution, but 50,000, that's a different of the 10,000 right there. Or even 48,000, that's still averaging more than what those 3 pay. And so that's for me, how I have to get to those numbers, like comparing what more
I
apples
think
to
you
apples.
can get there eventually, but it's not gonna happen anytime.
She wants it
soon.
now.
I know. So that's where I sit. I'd like to, I want to hear the other people talk.
64 and some change, which isn't that much more than the last one you used was more.
3,000 more than more, right?
That makes a little bit more than I do already.
Right.
That's what. What should that be one?
Okay.
Let's stay here in the court.
Do what?
So let's just keep the conversation here. I'm done talking now. I gave my opinion.
I think we could talk about this for hours and we're not solving anything.
It's gonna be very hard to solve because the biggest problem is that
But it's
the
good.
lower pay scale, not the upper pay scale. There's not as much gap between these positions there should be. And the jailer's making too much. The captain's not making enough. You're gonna have to restructure this whole thing to make that work.
So what's your opinion and Gary's opinion on what I'm asking for?
Well, it's pretty obvious. If we give you a raise, we give Jerry a raise, what it's gonna do to the rest of the county. We can't afford that.
I think the whole thing needs to be fixed before we do any raises.
Yeah, I'd like to
How we're
see,
gonna do that, I'm not really sure. I see what you
Yeah.
do and you do a great job. You do a
yeah,
tremendous
it's
job.
not a reflection on you.
I'm here
at all.
every day. I see the work you do and it's very hard to say no to this, but I think it's gotta be fixed.
I'd like to see every
Across the board.
department head come up with a tier solution. Because you're the only ones that know what goes on and the value, tenure and job performance. Y'all are the only ones that know that.
I did tier systems before on pay scales and you gotta be very careful with that too, because it gets abused. And so you have to be very careful how you structure a tier system.
So I would advise that we hold off on any raises this year, other than it's not a
Across
raise.
the board one.
Yes, except the across the board one, yes.
I think it will create a lot of problems.
And work this year, and we're actively work this year to help departments with a tier system.
Board?
And I mean,
No.
no, not across the board.
Just individual raises.
I want to make sure, because I don't want those emails.
Yeah. No individual raises, just if we consider the across. the-
Right, I agree.
And put the power back into, I know it still has to come to Commissioner's Court, but the department heads help us out with this here system and ask questions, ask other counties, ask Kathy, ask what it looked like before we got here. What did it look like 15 years ago? Ask those questions, see kind of how that should be set up and help us out, help us figure this out. Well, it's not, as Chris said, let this be a team effort and not
It's gonna happen.
not us just trying to figure it out case by case. Because that's, as we can see, that's dangerous. And it opens so many avenues. So that's my recommendation for the budget workshop, is that we halt all the raises except the adjustments with the fire marshal and the EOM. And
By adjustments, you mean just splitting it out into two different salaries instead of one? Right?
yeah, whatever y'all talked about.
I lean towards that too. And I will say, if you're willing to go this year and try to work with us, if we can't get there this year and it's still an issue, I'm not just saying no, like next year. If we bring it and we can't fix it and we say, all right, we tried, now let's see if we can change the difference. Because I have to go with how I compared the other counties and try to see if we can get the difference there. And if we can, I mean, I might say no to those things today, but I always try to look at it moving forward. I mean, it's not a no the whole time. It's not you can't convince me, because I do ask a lot of questions, but I try to listen to you guys too. And so I will say this, if we say no to some of the people that have asked for raises, it's not a no. For me, it's not a no on what you've done or what you do as an employer, your job opportunities or your job duties and stuff. They do a great job. It's just, I can't get there. I have to look at it as a black and white thing, not a personal thing. And I mean, that is hard sometimes to look people in the eyes and say, we can't do that this year because you guys, I mean, you all do different things, but you work your butts off so hard for our county. And I mean, it is hard for us to have that ultimate decision because you expect us to know what you do. And that's why I hope going forward, we have more of a true, people say Hutchinson County is a family, but it's really not sometimes. I mean, it's a knife in the back, cliquish group that they want what other groups have. They work harder than other groups. And I hope we change that to where we get to where we more understand what people do. I mean, at times it can be that way. And if we really want to be seen as a family, we've got to understand.
But that's where you and the water are completely different, because you say you want to ask them questions, you want to know why, you want to know what you're doing. He says, I don't care, I want to know what your evaluation is.
Well, I trust the department is what I'm saying.
And if I want to know why, I will go to sheriff, or I'll go to, if he says, they want this, I'll email you and say, hey, like they want this raised. Can you give me call numbers or, things like that. And so, I mean, I don't think we agree on the system being solved now. And I don't think we're not elected. Commissioners Court shouldn't be elected to be all in uniformity. Because if we had uniformity, we only need one person. We're elected to be united at the end of the day. And so, I mean, we have 5 different opinions on things. And so that's where we have to butt heads and get to a decision as we butt heads with the department heads as well. And so that I don't think the tiered system that might not even work. I mean, just saying like the first tiered system we throw out there, we might say, well, we need to tweak this, we need to change that. Or I might say, well, I don't want to know why. I trust the department heads but I think that's why we have those conversations that some people don't want to have. We have to try to navigate what is best. So
every employee in the county is valuable to me. Everybody is valuable. Now, where we come up with the differences between employees, that's not easy.
Okay, so we've said or I think it's kind of a consensus that we're not going to talk individual raises today or maybe this year even. But and maybe this doesn't really apply, but Jan has asked for a couple of her girls to be raised from 3 to 2. So since that's already in our tier system, everyone's okay with that.
That's the system in place.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that, make sure.
And that system needs to be addressed too one of these days, because you got people that are 3s and in 3 months, the official goes, oh, did a great job, let's move them to a 2. Well, first of all, you can't because you don't have that position available, but you need to maybe think about doing some kind of year level on that.
Yeah.
Are you
Yes.
gonna have a 3 for 6 months? Or are you gonna have a 3?
And then they're eligible after that period of time. Doesn't mean it automatically happens. It's just that they're eligible.
We used to have 3s for
Years.
100 years, you know. Or I don't even know if they ever got moved to tell you the truth, you know, before they died or retired, you know, but.
A tier system sounds wonderful, and that's the only way to go, but you gotta be very careful how it's structured, or it will get abused. And it will not be used.
And nothing against Jan wanting her girls, but you just need to, because I get that request. Oh, raise that girl up to a 2. She's doing great. Well, you don't have a 2, or you
Or don't have it in their
have
budget.
a month, or,
Yeah.
you know,
There's gotta
so.
be rules.
But that gives us more accountability, like when they abuse it, if there's in writing, black and white, we say, look, you abused it. You either get written up or we're finding another department head.
Yeah.
And that protects us from just saying, well,
Yeah, but that.
Can't really define another
Doesn't
elected
always-
official though.
yeah. I'm not saying you hurt, I'm saying like at the library, if they abuse that.
Right,
word,
well, right.
Say, well,
It's still not foolproof. Who's friends with who, or who's prefers who?
Nothing's foolproof.
These things just keep.
No, but we can at least have a little more structure to it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Except the mayonnaise jar seems to be foolproof. I
And
can't
then
get
you
in.
get a real morale problem when, say, one head of department leaves, retires, whatever, not reelected, and then one comes in. When people get bumped around, then everybody gets upset. You got a morale problem. And so you have to be real careful how you do this.
I've learned we gotta be real careful on how we do everything.
Yeah, but is there a really solution? I mean, even if.
You just- yeah. You still have to
No.
do it.
Solution to that?
And you still have to just make some
no,
practices.
sometimes we have to make a decision.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants to work for us, they do. If they
Yeah.
don't, we take applications.
Yeah.
I mean, that's in private business. I mean, you do it as careful as you can, but at the end of the day, sometimes you have to draw that line.
You're never gonna make everybody happy.
Only shoot for
Oh,
80%.
we're trying.
You have to take it one step.
Shoot, 51%.
Okay, you guys got anything else? Have we
So what did we decide is, or are we deciding for the
On the-
paperwork
raised?
on the across the board raises?
Wait, well, I thought someone mentioned 200.
Yeah, I wonder who that someone was. Why? What do y'all think?
Idea.
Well, I mean, I don't know that we've settled on anything, but
Well, it helps with the paperwork.
For number wise, I lean more towards the 200 too.
With 200.
I'm okay with 200.
I didn't know we was doing that today, but okay.
Well, we need to
Do
start
it
talking.
something.
Well, I know
Whether we
we
make a
gotta see
decision
that.
or not, we need to start talking about it so that,
so we kind of know what numbers to plug in and look at.
yeah,
So let's plug that one in and look at it.
and see how it.
Cause I'd like to see what it looks like on with the tax, where we start setting up the tax rate like we did last year, kind of
If we change our mind to.
like we did. I make happy.
That's what.
Yeah, yeah.
that's what we should be.
Yeah, it's already on there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's already-
Yeah.
This one,
I think that's what, did you get that one? I think.
I mean, on the budget, the actual budget numbers will
I
reflect
sent you
that.
that budget scenario.
at 55, it's 476.
I didn't
Dennis,
with that includes no budget.
Right,
No
yeah.
raise at all.
Yes,
But I
that's,
can't give you new budget.
that's what I'm-
The $200.
that's what I'm talking about. I knew somebody would get me.
I thought this one had raises on it.
Looking at his.
Yeah, that one. I think that's in it.
Budget scenarios.
That's the bottom line.
200 mine with 250.
Mhm.
Oh, the overall,
Yeah.
not department. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the overall, the bottom line number.
Right.
400,
476, 378,
what tax rate is that on?
55.
No, it's.
Yeah, I know I saw that. I meant for the department aspect breakdown.
So like 200, if you did the no new tax rate, that would be a net change.
438. Is that, no, what's the wrong one?
Which that's a really low rate, the 52, so that would be like 1.5 million into fund balance. If you did the highest rate, that would be taking from fund balance 91,000. And if you did the middle, like the minimus rate, which is about 54 cents, that would put 438 into fund balance.
And the 438 would go into fund balance, and that's with the 200 a month.
That's what the two,
Okay.
yes,
But that's at 54 though, right?
right, that's at 54,8544, which is what's called the de minimis rate. And then I included just rounded different rates. for everybody to look at. But I did just show the bottom line, the effect it would have on the bottom line, instead of each different department.
And that's with the insurance and everything. Well, right, as it is now.
And it's with approximately 11.55 on the retirement.
Yeah. And that's with using, like, nobody changing their insurance.
Right. Right.
So, and that still is up in the air.
Do most everybody have their insurance change before we make decisions? No.
We've had some talking to us about changing, as far as changing from a 80-20 to a HMO or a HSA or the opposite. Now, we haven't had any, because you have to remember, we have 7 or 8 that don't actually take the county insurance.
Yeah.
Now, we haven't had any of them. We have them sign a form if they're not gonna take it. But we haven't had any of them come to us yet and say, oh, I'm gonna take the insurance this year.
Oh, okay,
Because, you know, you have to remember, that's about 14,000
yeah,
when you do that.
yes.
So, I think they'll probably, most of them will let us know maybe by the 18th, or something like that.
We usually know before.
Oh, yeah, we'll know.
Yes.
Well, we have to know by the 31st, because
Yeah.
it's their last day anyway.
Ready, thank you.
Okay, you guys got anything else you want to talk about? We have a meeting on the 22nd. That's our regularly scheduled meeting and
I'd like to make a motion
Public
during
hearing.
this one. I'm ready.
right, yeah, the 22nd.
I'll go along with Gary.
Okay, motion second, meeting adjourned. Everyone